Welcome to QuickLearnInSports IKF Partners Podcast Special, where we spotlight bold ideas shaping the future of Indian sports. Today, we turn the spotlight on Nut Sports, a pioneering initiative that goes beyond physical training to build champion mindsets and socially conscious athletes. Nut Sports is designed to empower not just aspiring athletes but also their families, offering a much needed support system for parents who nurture their child's sporting dreams. Even if an athlete does not turn professional, the skills and mental resilience developed through nudge sports ensure they are prepared for success both on and off the field. At its core, nudge sports is redefining sporting success in India, enabling every child and every parent to dream boldly, knowing that sport can be a lifelong opportunity, not just a short-lived ambition. Welcome to IKF Partner Series podcast, where we spotlight leaders and bold ideas shaping the future of Indian sports. Today's episode focuses on holistic athlete development and mental conditioning, critical yet often overlooked pillars of sporting success. We are honored to have Mr. Amit Gadkari, founder of Nut Sports, whose work is redefining what it means to build champion mindsets and lifelong skills through sport. So, Amit sir, could you briefly introduce yourself and share your journey with us from being student athlete and corporate leader to founding Nut Sports? How was your journey?
Oh yeah, thanks, Siddharth. Firstly, thanks for having me here. Well, I played a bit of cricket to start with, and I played for Mumbai under 15 and 19 years ago. Uh, but that was decades ago, and I'll
Yeah.
come back to how it kind of nudged me into what I'm doing right now. I've spent about 27, 28 years in the corporate world, and the how I started Nut Sports is a little interesting because while I was working, I was also a part of a foundation, a
Mm,
cricketers foundation, where our objective, and the foundation still exists. I am one of the founding members, and the objective of the foundation was to raise funds
mm,
and help all the retired Malis, umpires,
mm.
coaches associated with Mumbai's grassroots cricket. This
Right,
is very Mumbai cricket centric. So
right,
it was to help all these people who coach, who work in the field of cricket purely for the love of the game.
right,
Uh, who are associated with school, college, and club cricket.
right.
There's no one to look after them once they retire.
True,
So
true.
we raised funds and we financially helped. We have helped almost 200 such individuals, and we continue to help. Having raised a good amount of money, we paid almost 30 plus lakhs to these people.
Wow.
Around 21, during the pandemic, I realized that hey, we are helping all these retired people, but what about the young boys and girls of Mumbai cricket,
Right.
under 15, under 19, under 23 boys and girls, because there was no practice for them, there were no matches for them. So I
Right.
said, I'm sure it's affecting them mentally.
Yeah.
Till then, I had no idea about, what is sports psychology. I had just about heard about it.
Right.
So we offered through the foundation free sessions, and that's when the kids reached out to us saying that, sir, ये मुझे अगर मिलता when I was younger, 14,
Mm,
15, 19, 20 का हूँ, it would have helped me a lot. And I started studying the market. I started studying the sports ecosystem. And I realized that in India, infrastructure is fabulous. We need a lot more, but it's there across sports across the country, right from the northeast to tier two, tier three, tier four towns, thanks to a lot of private initiatives and a few governments doing a good job. Coaching of skill and technique is strong. Awareness of physical fitness is good. Awareness of what to eat, what not to eat is good amongst athletes across sports. But how does mental conditioning help? What is mental conditioning? How does sports psychology help in performance? Was still there was a gap in the market. And I realized that most of the sports psychologists were working as freelancers. So I said, okay,
right.
let me bring everyone under one roof and go and offer a structured program for these kids, for these student athletes, for these academies. And that's how we started Nut Sports a little over 3 years ago. Actually, December 21 was our first client. Yeah.
Nice. That was a great introduction and great background about Nuts Sports. So coming to the athletes and their families, not just in performance, but building, resilience and life skills. Why is it important for young athletes to see value in sports beyond just being professional?
Well, Siddharth, we all know, and I'm sure most of us have played some sport or the other. The level could be whatever, it doesn't matter. But we have all played sports, and
Right,
sports is a great teacher.
right.
Sports teaches us so many things. I mean, sports is our first MBA school,
Yeah,
right? Because It helps us with communication. It helps us
True.
with resilience, how to come back after setbacks. It helps us in kind of leadership,
Yeah.
because whenever you play, you go to any society, you
Yeah.
watch kids play, and you will see that ek do leaders hai yahan par, because they are
Right.
the ones who are organizing your. So that
Yeah.
is what is that is you're developing your leadership skills at a very young age through sports. So, sports has been a great teacher, and it will continue to teach. And as you mentioned, uh, we just need to ensure that we structure how a kid, how an athlete trains his mindset, his or her mindset, right? Because we all focus on the physical side of the game. We all
Yeah.
focus on technique, which is fundamental. But if you start training your mind at a very early age,
Yeah.
when I say early age, 12, 13, 14, uh, it kind of helps you in the long run. Then and in India, and I would say even the rest of the world, it's not just India. We feel that mental training is new in India. It's also the same in the rest of the world. So that's predominantly what sports is all about.
Right. I think that's very true. If we train our mindset at very early age, we can build great characters. I think we were also talking about this a couple of podcasts ago. We were discussing how makes strong characters, and then these strong characters can build, great society, better society. So that's I totally agree with that. But what are the common mental challenges or emotional challenges that you see among young athletes in India? I'm sure you have been talking to so many young athletes and professionals. So, what are the challenges that you see, especially in India?
So that the most important thing and the most common challenge that we see is competitive pressure. Competitive pressure in India, it's become a part of our DNA, whether it's academics,
Yeah,
जो भी लो देखो, competitive pressure is there. The pressure from peers, the pressure coming from parents, coaches to perform and win,
right,
right? ये जो mentality here that, we have to win, we have to do well. That is the biggest pressure
right,
point for any athlete, any student athlete,
right,
right? And that is what we need to help the athlete, but also educate the parents and coaches, and everyone associated with around that student athlete.
right. That's interesting. Now, coming since we are talking about this, lot of pressure is there among especially among the athletes who are coming from middle class family or lower middle class family. So, in terms of your approach, not sports approach, how is it different from traditional coaching training programs?
So, firstly, we look at every athlete or every student athlete as a unique
Yeah,
entity,
yeah,
because everyone has their own sets of strengths and challenges,
right.
background, cultural nuances. So that's the fundamental thing. So whenever we start working with an athlete, uh, we always do a very, very detailed assessment of that athlete. We
Mm,
understand the athlete's background. We talk to the athlete's parents also. We talk to the
mm,
athlete's coach, so that we get our sports psychologists get a very clear picture of
mm,
what it is.
right,
And then we do the one-on-one sessions with the athletes, where we work on different challenges, where we work on how they can utilize their strengths, and
right.
how can they just build a better mindset
Yeah,
to whatever, because challenges will come, pressure will be there, anxiety will be there. That's not going to disappear. We just help them understand themselves, make them self-aware that how can they handle those situations better. As
better.
simple as.
Yes. So maybe you want to share a story, success story in the last 3.5 years that you have been working with athletes. So maybe there is some story which inspires you or which says, okay, what we are doing is really, really great, and you are always motivated for your work.
Siddharth, there are so many of them. There are
Yeah,
so many
I'm
of
sure.
them. So it's very difficult. But I'll tell you what, and this point I probably should have mentioned earlier. When we work with an athlete, we not just focus on making him or her better
Mm,
with their performance on the field of play or on the mat or in the pool. We also want them to become a better human. We
mm,
work on a holistic development of the athlete, because the athlete at the end of the day is also a son, daughter, brother,
yeah,
sister, a friend, student as well, right? So uh, that's for us is fundamental because we have
Right.
always said that if you become a better person, everything else falls in place. And
Right.
that's core to the nut sports philosophy. So I am involved while there is confidentiality maintained with all
Hmm.
athletes who work with our
Hmm.
sports psychologists. I'm involved in a review call with the parent and the athlete after every 6 sessions or 8 sessions. It's a very casual review call. We don't get into the details, keeping the confidentiality in mind.
Right. Yeah.
But when I hear the parents say that, hey, now mera bacha is taking more responsibility in the house,
Hmm.
he's become calmer, he doesn't shout at me. For
Right.
me, that's gives me immense satisfaction.
Right.
I mean, that for me knows that we are doing something right. The sports psychologists are doing something right.
Yeah.
So that's the larger picture,
Yeah.
Siddharth. But I mean, there have been so many success stories. I mean, I can tell you about a 18-year-old footballer. She's a goalkeeper,
Hmm.
uh, and fabulous potential, but went through a slump. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, she missed a couple of goals. Her
Hmm.
team kind of started pointing fingers at her, and she was
Hmm.
in a huge mental slump.
Hmm.
Uh, we worked with our sports psychologist, worked with her, and after 3 months, her mom called and said, you know, Amit sir, my daughter is back. You got my daughter back. So, it's these are the kind of things we have not done anything. We've kind of just helped that girl
Yeah.
understand her own strength
Yeah.
and how to block the external noise and focus
Right.
on what you have. Easier said than done. That's why we always say that, hey, mental training, what you do with our sports psychologist is not a few sessions. It has to be over a period of time, and then it has to become a part of a
True.
daily training program.
True.
So, this is something that we have heard. We've Other success stories would be, people who have been injured, who have kind of finding it struggling to come back because an injury is a part and parcel of any athlete. And some injuries are so bad that,
Right.
put an athlete out of competition for training and competition for a long time. So it's gratifying that when we are able to, because physical recovery is one, I think
Yeah.
mental recovery is a lot more important. And we have helped so many athletes coming out of injury,
Yeah.
and that is a huge
Yeah.
kind of moment of satisfaction for us. Yeah.
I think what I also feel is when you say physical recovery is must and mental recovery is also important. I think if a person is mentally very strong, the chances of physical recovery or the speed of physical recovery becomes much faster. The process becomes much faster.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. You're right. Yeah.
so now you're talking about the support systems, families. You mentioned about the families are saying, okay, our kids are getting better. So, and coaches are also maybe in this ecosystem. So, what happens? How do you tell them initially? Like the families, I'm sure a lot of families still don't understand this concept of mental support. I think it's still very early stage in India. So, what is the process? How do you explain a parent or a coach like, okay, we are going to work with your kid, with your athlete, and this will be the journey, and this is going to transform your kid.
But you're absolutely right. The awareness of sports psychology, training is still in its early days, but I have seen the change in the last 3 years. A lot of people still believe that, hey, mere bache ke saath, there's no problem with my child. He's not mad. Why
Yeah,
should he or she go to a sports psychologist? Uh, it's our responsibility as
yeah,
probably India's now number one mental conditioning entity to educate and make people aware. How does sports psychology work? What is sports psychology? What is mental training? So,
yeah,
with that in mind, what we do is with each and every athlete, and I'm saying each and every athlete, there's no exception. Whether we
right.
work with an individual athlete or whether we work with an academy which has multiple athletes, we always do an introduction call or an orientation session where we help the athletes understand along with their parents and
Hmm,
coaches. So a lot of coaches also have
hmm,
misconceptions.
hmm.
We help them
Sure.
understand what is sports psychology, how does it help.
Yeah,
The way you train your body, the way you train your skill and technique every day, you got to train your mind. It
yeah,
doesn't mean
true.
there's something wrong with you. It's not a medicine that you go when there is something wrong with you. No, you make it a part of your. So we've been doing this. We put in a lot of effort to do this, and it has really helped us because we always set the expectations right at the beginning.
Nice.
See, this is
Nice.
what sports psychology does. This is what
Right.
mental training does.
Yeah.
This is what it doesn't do. So
Yeah.
don't expect, I get a lot of calls saying that, tournament hai next week. Can I tell them that no, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. It is I'm happy to
Yeah.
have your child speak with a sports psychologist just to motivate before the tournament. But if he or she needs to really reach a certain level of mental understanding and mental strength, he or she needs to work with us over a period of time.
Right.
But I can tell you the awareness uh, from the parents, and I'm talking about parents not just from metro cities, but even smaller towns,
Small towns. Yeah.
three tier four towns like Gorakhpur, Asansol, you name the
Hmm.
towns,
Hmm.
Udaipur, Jaipur, they're coming to us and saying that my son or daughter plays tennis or badminton or shooting, and we know unka mindset issue hai, there is a mental block. Can you help us? So clearly, we are seeing that awareness improving.
Nice. Nice. I think very important point that you mentioned about setting the expectations right. For a long, very long time, in the Indian sporting ecosystem, I've seen like coaches and clubs are promising the moon to the child and the parents just to sell, just to sell their course or whatever it is. And now, when you say that the expectations are right, when people know, when the parent know, okay, this is the expectation, this is what going to happen in some time. They are not looking for far-fetched things. So I think it's a high time that most of the sporting ecosystem, not just you as an organization, but others as well, realize this as well and take it seriously and tell them, okay, this is the expectation. Let's work slowly. So I think that's really, really fantastic. Moving on to the holistic development and alternate pathways. How do you make sure an athlete, if he doesn't make a career in professional sports or athletics, how do you make sure that he or she finds a better pathway?
I think our sports psychologists are the best role models, because 9 out of 10 of our sports psychologists had have played sports at a
Yeah,
at a certain level.
yeah,
They realize from their own experience that they could have done better had they got mental conditioning support, and hence they, in their pursuit to understand that, cup sports psychology as their career option. So I think when a lot of these athletes speak to our sports psychologists who themselves have gone through the same uh, phase as they are going through,
yeah.
they understand that hey, there is sports psychology as a career. But not just that. Nowadays, there are so many career options in the area of sports that we make them understand that not everybody is going to
Mm,
reach the top. Not
right.
everybody can make sport as their career, but you can get into sports management, sports marketing, sports nutrition.
Yeah,
You can become a coach.
yeah,
So many people then go through the accreditation process of becoming a certified coach. So there are so many options, and we just help them become aware, and their parents also aware that these are the options. Your child loves sports, yeah, right? So even for me, had I been born maybe 30 years later, I would have set up this venture a little earlier, not after turning 50, because sports was my passion. I loved
mm,
my work, I loved my corporate life,
yeah,
but sports was my passion. Maybe I would have jumped on it earlier because now there are more opportunities in the
yeah.
area of, not
That's
when
true.
I was pursuing a
Yeah,
career option. So yeah, that's how we work with the parents to help them understand that hey,
yeah.
don't worry, your child is he enjoys a particular sport, let him or her, if not an athlete, they can do something and become phenomenal coaches for that matter.
Right. I think that's great. And one important thing that you said, the sports psychologists are the best teachers in this case because they are coming from the background. They have a lot of experience, maybe 20 years or so, and then they explain the kids like, okay, this is going to happen, and these are the chances and opportunities. So I think kids and parents, they have that idea, okay, this is going to happen, and we have to work like this. So I think that's a fundamental point in your in your strategy, in your approach. So I think that's really important, and that's really great. At the same time, you are giving opportunities to these people, to these sports fanatics making a career. So that's also need of an hour, I think. So
Yeah.
coming to the technology part, now the technology is evolving like crazy. And 5 years ago, we were just seeing AI as a keyword. Now it is being used as daily use. So I mean, everyone is using AI for maybe writing emails or analytics or whatever the use case is. How do you think that AI or modern technology like sensors, wearables, and these platforms can help in the mental conditioning of an athlete?
We are already using tech in the area of mental conditioning, and we have a joint venture with a Singapore headquartered company called Symphony. Symphony has a FDA approved wearable device.
Hmm.
They come from the clinical space over the last 15 years. So they have a EEG EMG device
Hmm.
which does a brain muscle sync, and that's the only device in the world that does brain muscle sync. We have brain trackers which are independent. We
Hmm.
have muscle trackers, but it really they have their limitations. Ours is the only one which does EEG and EMG works in tandem. We over the last 3 years, 3.5 years since February 22, we've done a lot of pilot with athletes across
Hmm.
sports. I've gone through the device program myself. We've done pilots across sports, right? From shooting, cricket, football,
Right.
rugby, badminton, tennis,
Hmm.
para swimming, para athletics, uh, various areas. And we are now using this, combining our sports psychology
Hmm.
understanding with the neuro physiology understanding. So
Okay.
Symphony has neurotherapists, physiotherapists, we have our sports psychologists. They are trained, and we have identified 5 or 6 very simple markers.
Okay.
This device helps understand your attention and your focus while performing a task. Is it relaxed or fatigued? Because you will could be very highly attentive, but if it is fatigued, it impacts the
Hmm.
performance period of time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Your
Hmm.
body balance. What's your left
Right.
right brain symmetry?
Right.
All of us are one side dominant, but athletes have to be as close to the midline crossing as possible because sports is a two-sided activity. Then it helps us understand your muscle compensation. It helps understand our fight or flight response. We have now started working with a lot of academies who understand the importance of this because
Okay.
we believe, because in India, unfortunately, the tech that is being used in the area of sports is very primitive. It is what
Yeah. I don't think it
uh,
exists for now.
yeah, countries. It there is tech. All the federations and all use tech, but it is very primitive. So we haven't evolved in that area as a sporting entity. But we are working using this tech very selectively with tutors. We work with Anjali Bhagwat Shooting Academy. We work with a lot of cricketers. Rohan Bopanna is
Hmm.
someone who's also, kind of understood how this technology is of relevance. So, we are reaching out to very select people who understand how technology can help their athletes, and we are using this tech. The other element of tech that we are using at Nut Sports is for outreach, for reaching out more athletes. And we have our
Hmm.
app, which is Pep with Nut Sports, that we
Hmm.
have launched. The objective of launching this app was, one is, in India, there are 50 plus million competitive athletes, uh, and there are only 100 odd sports psychologists. So, how do you bridge the gap
Right.
between the demand and supply?
Right.
You have athletes in smaller towns, villages, whose coaches' parents know that they need a sports psychologist, but there is no sports psychologist there, and there may not be for some time.
Right.
Uh, so the app helps them reach out to a sports psychologist in the language that they want to speak.
Wow.
The
That's
app Indian languages plus English. So they can do sessions with our sports psychologists using the app. Also, the content on the app is free, so it's our responsibility to educate them also. So the app educates them.
right.
And thirdly, you spoke about AI, Chat GPT. Uh, the we just it's a strange coincidence. Just last night we had a chat with someone in the US, and we are kind of starting work on how AI chat GPT can help
Mm.
the sports psychologist. Obviously, there is a lot of privacy and
Mm.
confidence
Yeah, data.
involved, so it's not going to be very easy. But we have set the ball rolling. So I think in the next one
Nice.
year, because one is demand supply gap hai,
Yeah,
50 million athletes, even if 1% decide to take sessions, you have only 100 odd qualified sports psychologists. That's
right,
another challenge. In India, we have lots of people saying that they are sports psychologists without any qualifications. They do more harm than good,
right.
sadly. But how do you bridge this demand supply gap? Can AI chat GPT help take some workload off the sports psychologist? But it's going to be some time before we even think of that. But we have set the ball rolling in.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a follow-up question from a athlete's perspective who is sitting in a tier two or tier three city. Maybe like me, I'm sitting in Mathura and I don't have a lot of access to sports psychologist. I'm not even aware of this concept and I don't have money. So how do I get to your platform and get benefited? Because there are a lot of young athletes, they don't have budget and parents don't support you, you might have seen. So how do they get benefited from your app?
I'm glad you raised this question, and that's what the app is trying to resolve. The pricing that we have on the app is take this into consideration. We have kept the pricing very, very soft because these sessions are online sessions. We
Yeah,
want leads at least to start involving and starting work with the sports psychologist on a small scale.
right.
So that's why we've kept the pricing very soft. Of course, at a certain stage, these athletes, as they reach a different level of competition, they will require a much more involved session where the pricing again increases. But I think by then the athlete would have moved to a larger academy,
Yeah,
uh, where the academy looks after providing sports psychology sessions.
right, right.
So I think the app addresses your question partly. We've also some athletes who can't afford and who really are deserving and needy. We kind of not even charge them. We've just done pro bono work for these.
That's
That
great. I think, yeah,
we,
people can definitely,
yeah.
especially from tier two, tier three cities, they can definitely get benefited, and especially it's a remote. So I think that's also fantastic. They don't need to go to serve cities.
So,
For that. So in terms of sports psychology, the global trends that you are seeing now, you just mentioned about AI in psychology. So what are some of the global trends apart from the AI that athlete and parents should be aware of, especially Indian athletes and parents?
so one important thing and globally what people understand and which is slowly percolating into India is that they know that mental training is a very important aspect, and they start at an early age. So uh, they want to make mental training a part of their daily training routine. So
Right.
it comes, and one of the other global trends is that in India, unfortunately, so far, every element of sports science, whether it's sports psychology, sports nutrition, biomedicine,
Yeah.
uh, biomechanics, data analysis, coaching, they all work in silos. There is
Yeah. Yeah.
integrated approach at most academies or high performance centers.
All right.
Uh, because the concept of a high performance center with a sports science head is relatively new in India. But now I'm seeing, because we work with a lot of high performance centers and academies, that
Mm.
the project director or the sports science head is now realizing that we need to all work together, not in silos, and that is a trend that hopefully should be adopted in India
Yeah.
very soon.
And do you see the government taking any initiative or supporting this sort of initiative, bringing every ecosystem together? Because, government has to mediate or they have to help the private players like you as well. So do you see that happening?
So it is happening. The central government through the Khelo India scheme, they've got lot of
Yeah,
Khelo India centers
right,
across hundreds of them across the country, so that it's not just in the metros, but in tier two, tier three, and even tier four towns and villages. Similarly, you have the SAI centers, the Sports Authority of India centers,
right.
so, where they're using technology, where they are also where they have sports nutritionists, sports psychologists, and everyone. So the government is central government is doing this, plus a few state governments
State
are doing
governments
it. I
as
mean,
well. Yeah.
Odisha has done a
Orissa,
fabulous
yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah.
Madhya Pradesh has done another
Okay.
fabulous job. Even Arunachal Pradesh,
Hmm.
we work there as well. So they are also making an effort
Hmm.
doing it. But there are very few governments who are actually, kind of state governments who are
Hmm.
really who understand what needs to be done and then they're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. 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 And there are so many 29 states, so maybe every state
Even
has to.
Bihar,
Yeah,
sorry for that
Bihar.
matter, because
Yeah,
Bihar
yeah. They are
is doing
just
a revelation.
starting. I think last 2, 3 years I've seen
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
good improvement.
fabulous work that Bihar government is doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So nice to hear, and I think people should also acknowledge this, and maybe they should also try to learn more about these programs, and they should also get involved more. I think this is the high time. So I think we are coming at the end, and I want your advice. So, I mean, you have plenty of experience as an athlete, as a corporate leader, and what what advices that you want to give to these young athletes to thrive both in sports and life?
I told you at the beginning that I played cricket. I played for Mumbai under 15, under 19, and at some stage I was really there. Uh, but I know I had an issue here. I know that because I used to be outstanding when it came to the practice sessions. I used to be very good. Uh, but when it came to matches, I somehow had that fear of failure, and that's one
Mm,
of the aspects that every athlete has. And
yeah,
that fear of failure prevented me from opening up and playing my natural game. I was always circumspect कि मैं ऐसा मारूंगा
yeah,
तो out हो जाऊंगा. Uh, I wish I had a sports psychologist to work with me. I would have probably reached a few
yeah,
levels more than what I eventually did. So that's why my advice to all athletes, all student athletes, is work on every aspect of your game. You obviously work on your skill and technique. You work on your fitness. Fitness awareness is very good. You working on your nutrition. Also work on your mind at a very early, on your mindset. Because these are the things that you work on will stay with you for the rest of your life,
right,
right? If you work on your mindset, in train it in a certain way at the age of 13, 14, 15, we all know that things we have learned in those days are still with us now, and those things will remain with you, and it will become a part of your daily part of what you are. So it will help you not just in the sport, it will help you with your relationships, it will help you in your career options, it will help you face all the challenges that life throws at you, and life will throw challenges at you. So you just need to be prepared. So hence, at Nut Sports, our main objective is that we want to make mental training a part of every athlete's daily training routine, right? And and then it stays with you. So you don't. It's not that you
yeah,
have to work with sports psychologist for the rest of your life, but you start off
right,
with weekly sessions, then slowly reduce the frequency, and then keep it need based, and then only when just call
yeah.
those techniques that you learn are there for you.
Yeah, I think the process becomes much easier and slowly you learn. So I think one maybe final message or message for the IKF family, because India Khelo Football has been working so hard at the grassroots, 125 cities in India, and they are scouting best talents and placing them in the right clubs. So it's basically providing a good platform, which was not available 4 years back, 5 years back. So what is your maybe one message to this entire IKF community that they have built?
IKF, thanks. A month ago is when I met, or 2 months ago is when I got in touch with Pani Bhushan, and I must thank the person who introduced me to him because I was not aware. But I think IKF is doing an outstanding job, and we need 100 such IKFs
Right,
in the country. Uh, what is important, and I've been talking to Funny also, is yes, you are helping the kids, you're advising the kids in their career path, whether football. is the right option. Where should they train? What they should do? Uh, but I think the holistic development of the athlete, of a footballer through IKF, is another important area that IKF needs to work on. Saying that hey, football nahi hai, आगे जाके तो what else, right?
Mm.
And there are so many options, and it's important to not just educate the footballer, but also the parent and the
Parents.
coach who are
Yeah.
associated with that, right? And I've told Funny that we are happy, and our sports will be more than happy to kind of help you in this journey. We are there now as partners. But I must say that IKF has done a fabulous job in reaching out, because it's easy to set up something in
Yeah.
a city and then you
Yeah.
become very city centric. But if you to
Yeah.
spread it across India is a
Yeah.
challenge, and that's the strength that IKF has.
Right. That's rightly said. And thank you, Mitra, for joining and sharing your insights, also sharing your vision for Nut Sports. So, wish you the best, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thanks for the time. Lovely chatting with you.